Hey, Sean, welcome back. You're becoming a real regular.
Yeah, this is my favorite bar.
Oh, thank you so much. Scotch Neat?
Yes, please.
All right, we got you covered. So what'd you think of the last episode?
Great. She doesn't hold back, Granny Jane.
Man, Granny J is great. She's great. Come to Crackers and see us sometime.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we do have a tab for you. Will you be paying with card or finger?
Finger.
Okay, just one click.
Boom.
All right, all settled up. We got a real treat for you tonight. We got Tim on the show. He's a real OG. Love this guy. Love his story. We are going to be promoting addiction recovery in this episode. And anyone that needs help can just click the link in all the posts and it will get them help right away. Also, we are dedicating this to Tim's past wife who died of her addiction disease. And we are supporting her and dedicating this episode to Cassidy.
That's awesome. I love that.
Awesome. All right, well, enjoy the show.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, guys. Kevin Harstone here. Welcome to episode 3 of Oldies But Goodies. We got a treat for you today. We got Tim Guinan. How you doing today, Tim?
Doing real good, bud. Real good.
Thanks for doing this.
You're welcome. More than welcome.
Don't know a ton about you, but looking forward to learning more. Met at Monkey Duck the other day, and definitely was very interested in what you told me before. So we're interested in learning more. We're all excited.
Okay, good enough. I mean, I've got a lot of stories. I'm 78 years old, had a good life, plan on having a lot more. So stay active. I'm still working full time. So.
And what are you doing full time?
Commercial refrigeration, walk-in coolers, freezers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a company you want to plug in there?
Well, I had a company for 30 years. I retired. That was American Refrigeration. Now I keep, I'm better not say what.
Okay.
How I make my money, huh?
Gotcha. Okay, so first memory. What is the first memory you can remember?
Oh, my
Whether it's correct or not, doesn't necessarily have to know how old you were, but.
Well, I can remember, I think I was probably 5 years old, hanging out the window of a Crosley car, which they haven't made for 50, 60 years.
Crosley?
A Crosley, yeah.
That's the brand or the...
That was the brand name of it, yeah. I guess it was kind of like the Yugo back in the 40s or 50s,
okay.
Yeah. My parents bought one, and I remember we were taking it somewhere downtown. My dad was going to sell it.
Yeah.
You know, I remember hanging out the window and seeing downtown Indianapolis. I'd never been downtown. You know, that's one of my earliest memories.
And so you said born 46, right?
Born 46. Grew up on the east side in Irvington, out here at Irvington Avenue. Lived there till about the 8th grade. Went to Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic School. Had the nuns pulling on my ears and smacking my fingers with rulers. You know. And,
so how old do you think you were at this time? Where it's a Crossley, you said?
Oh, I was 4 to 5 years old. Yeah.
5 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about where you grew up and your family.
Well, both my mom and dad. My dad was from New Haven, Connecticut. My mother's from Indianapolis. They met in Washington, D.C. in 1938. Knew each other 38 days, and then were married for like almost 60 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a blind date, when my dad told me. He went to pick the girl up, and both girls that lived in the apartment had the same first name, Alma. That was my mother's name. He didn't know which one, so he just picked one, I guess. You know, and went on from there. But then, like I say, I grew up on the east side in Irvington. We went to all 8 years at Our Lady of Lourdes, and had 2 older brothers, 4 and 5 years older than I was. And they, of course, I didn't want me tagging along. You know, yeah. I got kicked down, pushed down, and get out of here. You know, they could kind of hang with each other, and their friends were all about the same age. But being 4 years younger didn't get me in the group. So
is anybody in that lineup still with us today? Or
both my older brothers are still living. Yeah,
really?
One he retired from the Air Force as a meteorologist, and my other brother lives here out on the east side in Irvington. He retired from UPS.
Oh, wow.
And he tends bar a couple days a week to keep busy.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So that makes him, what, 80?
He's 82 and 83.
82 and 83.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Well, my mother lived to 97, so I'm hoping I'd like to have part of her genes that I might have a long, happy life. And she was still playing golf at 93, pulling a 2-wheel cart with her clubs, walking.
My goodness.
Tell me, yeah, I don't know how she did it, but she did it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Are you a golfer yourself?
No, I quit at 12 because I wasn't going to chase this ball around for 4 hours in sweat. I went in the creek, got the balls, took them back to the clubhouse, sold them back to the guys. I was out of there with cash.
Love it, love it. So tell us a little bit more about your childhood. Like, what did you play sports?
Yeah, I of course back then it was mostly little league. I played about 12 years little league, and loved baseball. I played it all the time in the backyard, and then in the little league, and then I think it was 1959. Because my father being from New Haven, Connecticut, our summer vacations were East Coast, 2 or 3 days with Grandpa, then either Atlantic City, Cape Cod, somewhere else. I think it was 59 though. My dad bought two tickets to New York Yankees. I don't know who they played, but it was the last game when Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris played together in New York Stadium, and it was at night game. I could close my eyes and see that green field and all those lights. I was so excited, and all my friends when I got back home, you lucky dog, you lucky dog. You got to see Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris play their last game. Yeah, I remember getting on the subway with him and walking in that stadium, and there wasn't an empty seat in the house. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I was 13, I think, at the time.
Yeah, so 59 year old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember around that age what you wanted to be when you grew up? And
Well, eventually, in 1960, my parents moved out to Indian Lake, out in Oakland, Indiana. And this is 1960, and Indian Lake that time had very few houses on it. We lived on the south side, 3 hills. From the second hill back to our house was a dirt road. I was not a happy camper. I thought, well, what the hell am I going to do out here? But one of my friends in town, we built some go-karts. Eventually, we bought racing carts together. And at one time, he and I had 5 different go-karts. Yeah, enduro carts for long endurance races, sprint carts, modified carts. We had show carts. Car shows were a big thing in the late 50s, early 60s. And we had one all chromed up. We put it in car shows. About the earliest I remember, of course, I wanted to be a race car driver, of course, but life didn't work out that way. After I got out of the Army in May of 68, May 3rd, my dad said, well, you going to get a job? And I said, no, I'm going out 500, drink some beer and look at girls. Well, that didn't quite set what he wanted to hear. He came home the next day. You want a job out there? Sure. Love it. Well, Goodyear hands me a press badge and a camera. Anytime a car comes in with Firestone tires, I'm acting like I'm taking pictures of the driver, but getting Firestone tire temperature. So I spied for 2 or 3 days. Then they sent me to Sheboygan, Wisconsin, Road America track. They were filming a movie with Paul Newman and Robert Wagner at that time. And my job was, they gave me a list in the morning what cars were going to be on camera. I had to make sure the Goodyear nice and clean. That took me all of 30 minutes. The rest of the day, I'm out with all the crowds, with all the chasing girls and drinking beer, So I traveled that summer with USAC circuit. Most of your races are qualification Saturday, race Sunday, come back, tire up, be on the road again. So I didn't get a day off, but I was having fun. And then, of course, that ended at end of that year of 68. And then I still worked for Goodyear, at a Goodyear store for a couple years. And then I ended up working for Tom Wood Pontiac, a local dealer. He was brand new dealer. He only had one dealership here in Indianapolis. At that time, it was on the east side. And he was a pretty young man, but I guess his father was also pretty well up in GM. And so all his cars were not financed. He owned them all. He wasn't with what they call Motor Holdings, the finance company that financed all the cars on the lot. So when he got his sell a car, he got his profit right away. And that's how he expanded. But one heck of a nice guy, real heck of a nice guy. And a good pilot. He was always flying us around to pick up cars. One time, he flew me all the way to Michigan in an old P-38 Army trainer.
You're kidding.
And it's January this time of year, but no blue sky, all gray and cold. And it's, pilot up front, one seat in back. And that plane is like this, and all I see is gray all around me. How you know where you're going? He says, well, I triangulate on the radio, and so he knew what he was doing. But I was seeing ice on the wings. Tim was getting a little sweaty. I was getting a little nervous here, but he was a good pilot. And also, in the end of the year, some of your small town dealers, they think they've got too much inventory. So Tom had a twin engine plane that he flew also. So he'd load up 5, 6 sailmen. We'd fly down to Seymour, pick up cars, driving back. And I can remember one time we're going over the reservoir down south, and he was in a twin engine plane. And Tom goes, let's take a look. He rolls it over and swoops down. And I go, whoa. But it was fun. He was a good
Cool.
good person, a good young man.
How old were you at this time? What year
Oh,
was this?
God, this is 1971, 72.
Okay.
Yeah. So, 24, 25, 6. Yeah, 26 at that time. Yeah.
You did mention something in that answer, so I want to hop to it. We did. You mentioned you went to Vietnam. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up in Vietnam, what you did in the Army.
Okay. Well, after high school, I went to 1 year of Ball State, and grades were not my priority, and I flunked out. And it didn't take more than a few months for me to get a letter from Uncle Sam report. So I'd be downtown Indianapolis at 8 o'clock on May 3rd. I was sitting.
What year?
This is 1966.
1966.
Okay, I they got a room full of folding chairs. I sit down, and we're waiting, and a Marine corporal comes in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 24, 25. Follow me. They got drafted in the Marines. I'm sitting in the 26th chair. I go, oh, okay.
Really?
But we didn't get out of the building downtown till I gotta say, 11 o'clock. We all get on this Greyhound, start heading south, Fort Knox. We stop somewhere for lunch, and we come out. Every tire on that Greyhound has been cut.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We don't roll into Fort Knox till 3 in the morning. And then we had to watch some guy. This is how you make an Army bed. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And of course, then an hour and a half, they woke us up. Fall out in a gravel field. And it'd go, is this section 24? No, we're section 26. Go back to sleep. It's about every half an hour or so. But next 3 days, we're just testing.
Okay.
And you sit down on the desk then, and they hand a piece of paper, and they say, if you sign this, we'll let you choose what you'd like to be, but it's going to cost you 1 more a year. I pushed the paper back. Two's going to be plenty. But how they chose me, I went to Fort Sam Houston to be a combat medic.
Okay.
And that was 4 months of intense medical training that was probably packed in too fast.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't learn a whole lot of others. Treat for shock, stop the bleeding, and evacuate them out. And of course, they always paired you up with someone else, your buddy, to learn how to do IVs and give shots and stuff like that. But they needed medics so bad in that 4-month time. I think we only got 2 or 3 Sundays off. I managed to get arrested on 2 of those occasions.
Wow.
Went down to Padre Island, which now is Party Island. Yeah, okay.
Texas, right?
At this time, it was only one concrete parking garage with a band on every floor. I get out of the car, and I've got a long neck beer in my hand, and the gentleman walks up, flips his wallet, and there's a badge. You have ID? I go, yes. You're under arrest. Take me back to in town to Corpus Christi. I sit in jail for 30 minutes. They come, we're going to have court. Okay. Guy said the desk is guilty, not guilty. And I go, I haven't been here for 2 years. I'm still 19, guilty. Yeah. And he said, okay, your fine is $64.25. Well, you know what I had on me? $64.25. They took my money gladly. And then they go, well, you want to ride back out there? And I go, no, I want to stay in jail. It's so nice here. Yeah, of course I want to ride back out there. And I think we closed that place down at 2:30 or 3, and there were 10 of us. We rented a Ford station wagon. 2 or 3 of us were laying on the roof, driving down the beach, and there's an El Camino with a surfboard. Well, the surfboard ended up on the roof with us. Next morning, we're at the beach using the surfboard, and who walks up? the same policeman that arrested me the
Oh
night
my
before.
God.
And he goes, "Don't I know you?" And I go, "Yes." And he goes, "This your surfboard?" "We just found it here." You know? He goes, "Boys, I think it's time to get back to the base." So we loaded up and went back.
Any consequences for that?
No,
Okay.
Then 2 weeks go by and we leave on a Saturday, half a Saturday and Sunday, and we drive to Mexico, Nevada, Laredo. And we were all had too much to drink. A friend of mine gets in a fight in the bar, breaks a mirror that's probably 20 feet long. And then all of a sudden there's 500 Policiana or whatever they call their police. And we get in a Mexican jail.
Wow.
And it's a dirt floor and a bucket.
Oh, man.
We spent, I think, 2 days. I'm looking out the window there and I see an MP Jeep pull up. I go, "I love MPs. I love MPs." They sent the MPs to come get us, and that was the end of that, you know.
Yeah.
And then at the end of our training, we had to go through 4 parts of evacuation. The first part, getting back to field hospital and back to major hospital. And they teamed you up in teams of 4. And I thought Texas was pretty flat until we went out somewhere. I guess it was an old artillery range. Yeah. And we have to camp out. And I'm looking at my buddy. I go, "This doesn't look like for me." And neither did him. I said, "Let's go up in the hills and go camping." Sure.
Oh, cool.
So we watched this exercise go on for about 2 days.
Yeah.
We come walking back in there, and the first sergeant goes, "You guys are in trouble. Does this mean I don't get to go to Vietnam?" And he said, "No, you're going." So, that ended that. And that was my medical training.
Okay.
But the first person I had to work on got sent to Korea first.
Okay.
Brand new second lieutenant, only been there a week, got shot on the DMZ by our own people. The guards on the DMZ have standing orders. No password, pull trigger. Pretty simple orders. And that is the order. You pull the trigger. If they don't give the password, well, I guess he kept giving the wrong password. So they opened fire on him, and it killed his driver and took his arms off from elbow below, but it crushed his pelvis. And he was in pretty bad shape. Now, I spent 2 days with him. I had to meet. They flew in some gangrene syrup from Guam to Korea. I had to meet a jet at the airport, take that, go back, give me this injection. They somehow found like a kids used to be put in when they had polio back in the 50s, oxygen chamber, iron lung. They found one in a basement of a monastery. And this was straight out of Dragons and Dungeons. I mean, the stairs went around and around on the inside walls with no railing. And one other person, myself, had to carry this fella down, a stretcher down in a dark dungeon like. And then they had to put him in there. And what really bothered me most, I had to listen to him scream for 3 hours. "Oh my God, help me. Oh my God, help me." And I said, "Why don't they give him more morphine, But I guess I'm not the doctor, The doctor said, "Well, you got to keep tabs on him, closer." But I think I nodded my head about 3 in the morning. I must have fallen asleep, or he stopped screaming. That's what woke me up, I think,
And because he passed? Or
He passed. Yeah, he
did?
He
Okay,
did.
so
He
didn't
passed.
make it.
He did not make it. No.
Okay.
But that was the first person I had to work on. But Vietnam, it was not a fun experience.
No.
I had to listen to too many young boys' last words. Tell my mother I love him.
Yeah.
Tell Mary I love him. Tell Kathy I love him. It's always tell someone I love him.
Yeah.
And then they're gone. Now, it stuck with me for quite a few years. I can still hear that first one screaming, "Oh my God, help me."
Really?
Yes. Yeah. It doesn't.
Like in your nightmares?
Oh, I don't have nightmares anymore, but I can just maybe occasionally, if I'm laying there in bed, sleep quiet, it runs through my mind, but it doesn't bother me. So, but I've moved on from all that. It's life goes on, and you have to go with it.
Yes.
Life is this way; it's not back there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
So that was my Army and my young working experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about just what was it like getting out of the Army and life shortly after? We'll get into later life.
Well, like I say, I worked the racing circuit for a year, and of course I was single. And then after that, I think I met my first wife, and that's when I was selling cars at Tom Wood, and I had 2 boys, but that didn't last too long. We had problems. She moved out, and we got divorced. And a couple years ago, I met in fact, my best guy friend I met. And it's funny, I knew him, but I didn't really care for him. He was running in the crowd my wife was running around in, so I kind of negative feelings at first, but I ran into him one night at the Mousetrap bar up on.
I just went there last night.
Oh, come on, up there on Keystone. Yeah, on Keystone. Good bar. Anyway, we started talking, drinking a little, and we started shooting some pool and winning money. Yeah. Then we said, well, let's go over to the patio bar in Broad Ripple. And we went over there, shot pool, and won some money. And I said, man, I got to find a place to live. I'm only making $125 a week, and I got to pay $75 in child support. Only made $50 a week. And I said, I got to find a cheap place to live. And he goes, well, my roommate just moved out. I said, how much is the rent? And he said, $37.50 a month. I said, I'm in, and it was just what I needed. You know how things fall in place, I guess, and with Jim, I lived up there 3 years, and we had the person on the other side of the double was the lady that owned the house, but she was in a nursing home. So we could crank that stereo full blast 2, 3 in the morning. Nobody could bother us, but we were both broke. It was on the weekends, was it beer or pot money, or is it fuel oil in the wintertime? Yeah. Well, the fuel oil we'd lose when the beer and pot would went out. We'd end up at the patio. Wow. And maybe bring a cold girl home at 2 in the morning and go, oh, we can't stay here. It's too cold. Well, stay just a minute. We're going to run out to blue and white truck stop and get some fuel oil, 5 gallons of oil, It'd be gone by the time we got back, But a good buddy. We went, had a lot of crazy experiences, Yeah, I was young and drank too much and, just did stuff.
So tell us, okay, so you mentioned you had 2 sons.
At that time, yeah,
I had your kids.
Yeah, I ended up back with my wife. I had another girl, so I had 3 kids. Okay. 2 boys and a girl.
With the first one?
With first wife.
Okay.
After about 3 years, then I married a girl, and that one lasted a weekend. It wasn't in Vegas. It wasn't in Vegas. It was just, I guess she thought that marriage license was a title to a car. All I wanted to go was the sports bar, have a beer with Jim, my best friend, and she said, I can't go. And I thought, ooh, I can see the writing on the wall here. So I said, I can walk out the door, and I did. Yeah. And how funny life is, I was not a little heartbroken over it, but 4 weeks later, I met a beautiful girl. And I think at this time, I'm about 28 or 9, divorced with 3 kids. This girl is a registered nurse, emergency room nurse at Methodist, driving a brand new car, and but just bought a house. Yeah. And here I'm making nothing a week, Yeah. But we got together and we married 18 years, and I had 2 daughters by her.
Okay, so now you're up to 3 daughters and 2 sons.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And after 17, 18 years, we kind of wandered apart. There wasn't enough romance, I guess, for me. And she said, well, I asked my sister, and her and Barney only do it once a month. I go, I'll bet Barney's messing around. Yeah, about a month later, Barney got caught too. Yeah. So, life parallels. Okay. Yeah, and so that ended that. And this is 1993 now. Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, I hadn't been out in the dating scene much. Matter of fact, I had a newspaper, and damn, they deliver sex. I'm on the phone. They were door dashing sex. Well, they sent me a beautiful young girl. She told me she was 18, but I think she was 17. Yeah. And we have stayed in touch since 1993. To this day. She was up last year and spent a couple days up here. Wow. And our lives have just crossed paths so many times. We were very good friends. We partied at New Year's Eve, 1999. I remember that. Different time I went down to Tennessee. She lived in Tennessee. Went down there and saw her. We've stayed good friends, and we text all the time now. Still, it's funny how life goes. But yeah, it was a good experience. But then I went. After that, I guess that's when I started hanging out at the gentlemen's clubs. We'll call them. Okay. Yeah, and started dating 2 or 3 of the employees. Okay. And having a real good time. Yeah. And that's when I met my 4th wife. Okay. And
that's Cassie, right?
Cassidy, yes.
Cassidy.
Cassidy.
And we're dedicating this episode to Cassie.
Yes, she
unfortunately passed 2020.
This is 99.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
19.
no, when she passed.
Oh, she passed in 2020.
Okay, yes.
She passed in 2020.
Okay, good.
We
Yeah.
probably dated for a year and a half, so, and then got married. One son, Sean, was born in 2002. Gabriel was born in 2008. When I met her, of course, and we first moved in, she had a bad drug problem. And after a month, I said, "Hey, you and I aren't having a relationship.
Yeah.
You're having a relationship with this drug."
Yeah.
I mean, she'd leave the house at 2, 3 in the morning, walk down the street, hope to get a ride to a crack dealer, you know?
Gotcha.
And so I said, "Listen," I said, "I'll send you somewhere. You get cleaned up, and I'll put you through school." And she did. She went to esthetician school. She got her state license
Wow.
and worked as an esthetician. She was a beautiful woman, and she
Yeah.
loved skincare.
Mhm.
And life started going on pretty good. And then around 2018, so she met a couple girls, and meth was getting pretty strong. And I think meth is the worst drug in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, you stay up for 2 or 3 days.
Sean feels the same way. He's had
Yeah,
friends that got into it.
you stay up for 2 or 3 days, and you don't make good decisions.
Yeah.
And these people also started doing heroin. There, let's do some heroin. Okay, sure, yeah, I'm all right, yeah. And because that was one drug she said she'd never do, you know. And it's kind of ironic. About a month ago, I was going through my desk looking for some invoices, and I found a Valentine cards from her. And this has got to be 2019. And on one side, she'd taken 3 or 4 selfies and had printed them in some sexy outfit. And on one side, she wrote, "Well, you'll get your present tomorrow night." On the other side, she said, "I'm sorry for causing so much stress in our relationship. I know I can beat this because I don't want to lose you." Those were her words.
Wow.
And boy, it took me back. And then I'm going through another drawer the other day looking for something. I found some of her love letters to me when I sent her away early in our relationship. And she was telling me that they were watching a movie named 28 Days, and about a young woman having an addiction. And in her letter, she says, you know, it was the addictions with a needle. And this is something Cassie had explained to me. It wasn't so much the drug, it was the anticipation of that needle breaking the skin. All the anticipation was built up to that moment. And that's part of the addiction.
Okay.
And she said that young girl died, and she said in the letter, "I cried and cried and cried at how sad it was that young woman lost her life just because of that." And
And her family lost her.
yeah, her family lost
Yeah.
her, and you know, it took me back to exactly where Chastity was. You know,
Yeah.
Once she started down that path, she had a hard time breaking it.
Yeah.
She went 2 other places to try to get off.
Okay.
6, 8 months back again, you know, for 3 months. And last time was June 28th. She got out, and our son Sean had graduated high school, and she wanted to be out of there by the time to have his party, which we had here.
2020.
Yeah, this is July of 2020,
Okay.
and June 28th actually. That's
Okay.
when she got out of the thing. We had the party for his high school graduation, and then August 7th, my 12-year-old went out to play.
Yeah.
And my other son, Sean, was on the west side with his girlfriend's sister house. And I pull in the driveway, and the neighbors are here and says, "I think you have a medical emergency." And Gabriel had coming home and found her and went and got the neighbors. But they don't know how long she'd been there. Gabriel's out playing. He's only 12. You know, he can keep track of time, you know, as such. But and of course, they made me come downstairs as they were working on her, and I really couldn't stay down here. And then as I forced my way back upstairs, turned the corner, and I heard her say, "Time of death." And I about lost it.
Oh.
Yeah. Words you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Words you don't want to hear,
Yeah.
you know. And it rocked me. And of course, it rocked the kids too,
Yeah.
you know. Gabriel has been in counseling,
Mhm.
you know. A lot of kids made fun of her being a drug addict towards him. You know, one kid says, "Hey, I saw a picture of your mom on YouTube." Took his phone, showed him a pile of ashes.
Oh my.
Yeah, cruelty. Kids are cruel now, you know.
Yeah.
The thing, and he's got expelled for fighting, but he's doing good now. He's getting more classes back in. He's lost track of a lot of classes. He wasn't doing as fast as online as they do in school, but he's done a hell of a job and come back and get his classes, and he'll be on the schedule to graduate next year. He's a junior now, you know. But it's been rough and up and down, and
it's been through a lot.
Yeah, and of course Sean Chastity had OD'd at the house here 3 other times, and Sean and I had brought her back. Sean basically had brought her back, and then of course when this happened, Sean blames himself for being gone. You know, hey, if I was there, I could have saved her. You know, Sean, no, that her time was up, and I don't know if you knew Tracy at the Mucky Ducks now, big round faced big guy. He was killed. He killed about 6 weeks ago on his motorcycle at Emerson and Southport.
I had heard people.
And he was on his way to Mucky Ducks to watch the football game with a bunch of us. And somebody called us and said, "What the hell's taking him so long?" Well, a young kid made a left turn right over him on his motorcycle. But it got me thinking. You know, that clock goes tick, tick, tick. Do you know when your last tick is? I don't.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. It could be you could walk out of this house and something happened. You know how thankful you've got to be for every second on this life. You know, at least that's the way I feel.
Yeah. So okay, just so the audience understands, you're 78 years old.
Right.
You were 29 years older than
my wife. Yes, she
wife.
was 24 and I was 53 when we first got together.
Okay, and you currently have a 16-year-old son that lives
with
you,
and
the other's 22 or 23.
He's 22 right now. He'll be 23 in June.
Okay,
and then I have next daughter is 41 and 43.
Okay,
and then I have a daughter that's 51 and a son that's 52. My very oldest son was a Greenwood policeman for 24 and a half years. He committed suicide in his car in 2022.
Wow.
Got in an altercation, I guess, with somebody. Got his neck wrenched around and pinched a nerve. They had operation. When he woke up, he had ringing in his ear. They have a name for it. He could not, wouldn't stop it, you know, earmuffs, you know, and it was just driving him crazy. He told me, just driving him crazy. His time off time was all used up. He was getting ready to go back to work, went and picked his new car up, requalified with his weapon. But then on July 6th, he folded his uniform on the dining room table, went somewhere, called the station, and shot himself. And that was my oldest son, my firstborn from the first. And my third wife, I said, such a good woman, the nurse, she helped me get custody of those 3 kids. And we got them when they were about 8 or 9. And prior to that time, I used to get phone calls. This is Sergeant so-and-so, Indianapolis Police. I got your son Timmy and Tracy, they're here stealing donuts at VP. Well, my ex-wife was a drug addict also. No food in the house. What are they going to do? They didn't arrest them. They were just little kids hungry, you know. But Timmy always watched out tried to take care of Jody and Tracy. Always looked out after them. So, I mean, man, it took another big bite out of me. In 2 years, almost at 2020 and 22, losing 2 people that close. It gets you down and hard to go out to get out that front door every day and keep hitting it, you know.
Okay, we'll get a little bit back on track to the script now.
All right.
Appreciate you sharing all that stuff. I know it's not easy to talk about some of that stuff, but like you said, you've had an interesting life. That's why we got you on here. Let's go to the question: if there's what from your childhood would you bring back that the youth do not have today?
Patience. They have no patience.
Oh, that's good.
They have no patience. They got to have it now. Instant gratification. Whether it's on the phone, on the laptop, on the computer, everything is bang, bang, bang. Right now. They're just too used to getting it instantly. You know.
I love that answer. Okay, so what do the youth have today that you wish you would have had when you were a youth yourself?
I hate to admit it, a cell phone, but you know, you don't. You know, I can remember getting the first one and I thought, man, this is great. I'm up on a roof and I can call my customers. You know, You know, and it was like size of a shoebox, had a handle and a thing with a cord too. You know,
Yeah.
going from the earpiece like the old
Yeah.
phones. You know, but I thought that was great. I could climb up my ladder and take a phone with me. But now it just seems like the media, the phones rule people. You know, and not having a wife, a lot of times I go out to dinner and alone, and I'll be watching a young couple sitting there. They'll come in and sit down.
Yeah.
They order.
Yes.
They eat. They eat.
Yeah.
No conversation.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's sad, man.
Yeah,
It's
it's
sad.
sad. They just and my 16-year-old, he lives with that thing constantly,
Yeah.
watching videos, making videos, doing this, doing
Yeah.
that, and of course, like even when at school, you know, he'd all the fights going on in high school, and 9 out of 10 of them are girls. And he'd go, "Here, Dad, he'd go, look at this fight today," you know. Yeah, I got 2 girls pulling hair and pounding, you know. You talked to my boyfriend or you looked at him or something, you know.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have a biggest regret in your life that if you could go back and change it, one thing doesn't have to be huge or does can be huge?
That's like the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
How do you know it would work out good? It could always
Yeah.
work out worse. I don't think regrets are a waste of time.
Yeah.
You can't go back and change them.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? So don't worry about them. Just move the other way. You
Yeah.
know, it is. It just, I've no regrets. It just, like I say, the butterfly effect. What if I could go back and change it and I changed it and things got worse rather than better? It's
Yeah.
exactly how it could be.
Okay. Let's see. So if what in your life, what's the biggest risk you've taken that had the biggest reward for the risk you get? And it does not have to be financial.
Well, still, in a way it is, but it was my job. I was working at Porky Lane grocery stores. That's where I was making 125 a week. My uncle owned the grocery store. It was a family. My uncle Meisberger, my mother was a Meisberger. There were 9 of them. And they had, back probably in the 30s, 4 or 5 small neighborhood grocery stores. Then come the 50s is the big grocery store, okay? And my oldest uncle owned Porky Lane. The younger uncle, they didn't get along, so the older one moved to Florida, and my other uncle bought him out. And then I started working there in 1976 and just doing building maintenance work.
Okay.
And working on forklifts and his trucks. I could always been mechanical. Older gentlemen would come in and do the refrigeration work. So when he'd come in, I'd hang with him and what's this? What are you doing there? What's this? You know, and it took an interest, took a hold on me, and he started teaching me. He was the first Frigidaire serviceman in the state of Indiana. And this is 1976, and he had to be like 85 then. It's still working. Yeah. And I had a GI Bill. So I went to IB Tech, and that's why I made some money there because they would pay you, and every 3rd or 4th month I'd have to pay the school. But 3 months I'd get a couple $100, which I survived on. And I worked full time 5 days a week, and then I went to night school 5 days a week, and it was right next to a White Castle. So I ate White Castle for 2.5 years every day. I don't even want to see a White Castle today. But what I really learned more from the old man as far as servicing and diagnosing, what I learned at Ivy Tech is, let's say you got this size building, how much horsepower does it take to get it down to 35 degrees? That's what I learned at school.
Oh.
So that's the two differences. But as far as actually, when I was in class at Ivy Tech, some of the teachers would have me teach the class on the mechanical end of it. Yeah, because I was so far ahead of them, you know, doing it during the day and then have to come and do that at night. But my cousin, 17-year-old, graduates North Central High School, 1983. A lady runs a stoplight. He's on his motorcycle and T-bones him. He's next to death. And he laid unconscious for 13 months. My uncle was there every day, moving it out, doing this. And finally, he woke up. But my uncle comes in, and this is 1983, like I said, and he says, we're closing next month. Okay. I'd just gotten custody of the first 3 kids, and my wife and I moved from the east side because we needed a bigger house, moved to Greenwood. Okay. my house payment doubles.
Yeah.
I got no job and 5 kids. So fortunately, the year before, I did take my test for my state license.
Okay.
I went around and interviewed and didn't like what I was being offered.
Okay.
And the day of my auction at Porky Lane, there are a lot of refrigeration companies there buying equipment. And a guy says, Tim, he says, I'll give you $1 more than I told you yesterday. And I said, you go yourself, And I asked my uncle, I said, can I buy the truck and make payments? He said, sure. And I said, well, I'll go in business for myself. Yeah. Next morning, we lived on a cul-de-sac. I backed that truck out, started driving down the street, went, where am I going? I got no goddamn customers. Where am I going? Yeah. And I think I broke out in a sweat. And started being real nervous. Really? Yeah, house payment doubled, 5 kids. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Where do you find money? I'm driving around, like that. And it turned out eventually to be very good. I met a few people, and I never advertised. They all did all word of mouth. And I ended up doing some of the biggest places in the city. Piazza Produce, Indianapolis Fruit, Delco Foods. Wow. Delco Foods, I moved that company 3 times in 10 years. They went so big. Their first cooler and freezer was not as big as this room here. Yeah. And a year and a half ago, they turned in the largest refrigeration order for equipment that the supply house had ever taken. Wow. And they're up in Whitestown, Indiana. Huge place. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I got to say. The biggest stake in my life was the biggest gamble, Yeah. Well, I figured, if it didn't work out and I didn't make it on my own, I knew I could go get a job. Yeah. That's the only relief I had there. Yeah. But I was sweating balls when I drove down that street the first day. Let me tell you, whoa! I thought, what did I do? Turned down a job and got no pay coming in.
Yeah. Okay, so if I'm an 18-year-old guy about to graduate high school tomorrow, what is your one piece of advice you would give me to enter into adulthood and have a good life?
Take your time. Enjoy your time you have. If you aren't going to college, get a trade. Okay. Because that's the way it's got to be in the future. Yeah. Yeah. But make sure you take time every day for yourself. Okay. You got to, because life's too hectic. I know when I was working full-time, go to school full-time, I'd get home 10:30, 11. Yeah. Some nights I'd go up to the patio, have 1 beer, go back home. Yeah. Sometimes I'd close it down and have me scratchy-eyed in the morning. Yeah. But you got to take each day and spend, even if it's half an hour for yourself, just to flush it out, Yeah, that's what I was selling.
Okay. So same kind of question. I know you don't know me as well as some of the previous guests, but I'll give you the rundown. I'm 36 years old, divorced, successful entrepreneur, made a bunch of money, lost all of it at once. Now I got ventures going on that are starting to come around. I'm an ex-convict. I had same struggles as your wife that passed, Cassidy, with drugs in the past. What would your one piece of advice be to me?
Well, that's a good question there. Well, my things with drugs, I've done a lot myself. Mm-hmm. Haven't ever done any heroin. Yeah. All things in moderation. That's the hard thing. Mm-hmm. I know she was on to crack, and I've done some crack, and I can see where it can bite you in the ass real quick. Yeah. Real quick. Yeah. But you just keep heading forward. Keep your mind and eyes on the program. What's ahead of you. Yeah. And don't be afraid to take a chance. Yeah. If you don't take chances, you don't know what you could have. I can tell you a little story here. When I got out of the Army, when I was go-karting, there were 2 gentlemen 10 years older. They were young married, had new babies. But I didn't have a driver's license, so they'd drive my car to the track. Well, I get out of the Army now. They're working for a company called Deal-A-Val, make milk separators. Dick Lambert, guy's name. He says, Tim, Bobby and I, we've started taking in the old. They'd sell a new milk separator. This is 1968. A new milk separator was $250,000 to $500,000 then. Yeah. Okay. And they'd sell one, and people would say, well, aren't you going to take my old one?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So they started stacking these things in their garage, and they got the idea, well, let's rebuild them. Well, they didn't have a shop, so they'd have to send parts here, electric here, and this, and then and they said, Tim, we're starting this company, and we need somebody to be a rep for us and travel. And I go, selling what? And mind you, I'm 23, wanting to go out to the racetrack. And they go, milk separators. I go, milk separators? It just didn't ring a bell in my mind.
Yeah.
In 5 years, their company was worldwide.
You're kidding.
Who buys milk separators? Argentina, the Netherlands, Indonesia,
Wow.
He retired at 36 years old in a 10,000 square foot log cabin on Green Bay.
Oh, man.
So my boat went that way. I missed the boat. I missed the boat because I wanted to be at the racetrack. Yeah. So you never know. Yeah. That you got to take chances. Yeah. It may not seem like there's anything there, but you never know until you turn that stone over. And you got to turn a lot of stones over. But finding a bug under that thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. Be a lot of empty ones.
I love that. Okay. So last question, and we'll just recap. You're 78 years old, Tim. You got 5 children. One of them still living at home with you. You've been in 4 marriages, had a successful life all the way around, all kinds of experiences. As the man you are today, what is it that wakes you up in the morning, that brings you joy when you lay your head at night, that you're grateful for? What is it that motivates you today, and that really brings you the most joy in your life?
My children. Got to be my children, yeah. And seeing Gabriel grow up and being 16, I get I can remember when I was 16, and like 4 years ago, he and I used to every weekend go to different state parks. Now I go, Gabriel, you want to go? No, I'm going to Mark's. Oh, I'm good. And I get thinking, Gabriel, it's okay. When I was 16, I didn't want to hang with Dad either. Last person I wanted to be with was Dad or Mom. But he keeps me informed on a lot what's going on social media and stuff like that. I mean, I don't get online that much to do. I'm old school, but he keeps me what's going on. He'll say, hey, look at this crazy video, people making stupid ass videos of somebody wanting to jump off a roof onto a little tiny pool, doing stupid. Oh, he broke his leg. Well, imagine that. Yeah, maybe you should have used this first. He's a good kid. He's
a good dad.
He makes good decisions. He's told me, well, I stopped going around this guy because he was getting a little here, or this was happening there, and so he's got a good head on his shoulder.
Yeah, so he'll change paths if he sees something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I had the 2 older brothers, and they got in a lot of trouble, and my mom thought I was an angel, but I wasn't. They taught me how not to get caught. That's what my 2 older brothers taught me. I got in a lot of trouble too in school, but just learned how not to get caught.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything else, world out there is going to be able to see this? Who knows how many people watch it over a length of time, any other advice you have for anybody out there? Anything you want to say?
Well, like I say all the time, I mean, you got to have fun. You got to put a smile on your face and go out, be around people. People have stories too, and it's good to listen to their stories. It keeps you, and I think that's what keeps me somewhat young. My knees are wearing out, go up down that ladder a lot, boy, and are just on this couch. And that's one thing can't spend too much time on this couch because I think there's Velcro here. It gets a little sticky at times if I spend too much time on the couch. So I'll go what I call shake the bushes. My phone's not ringing for work. I'll drive around. If there's a gas station that I don't do their work, I'll go in and hand them a card. Say, hey, my name's Tim Guinan, who does your work. But if you want to call me, that's my cell number. You'll get me 24 hours a day. So I got to keep shaking what I call shaking the bushes. Because sometimes I only do commercial refrigeration. January, February, a little slow. So, like I say, this couch can grow that Velcro real quick on you. Stay moving and have fun. That's my plan.
Perfect words of wisdom. Yeah. Thank you so much. I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you for doing this, Tim.
Kevin, thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with you and meeting you.
Absolutely. All right, guys. See you next episode.
Have a good one.